really want to be the best in the market at that kind of, investor relations experience. Really much deeper than just, okay, we underwrote a property, performs at this, and then let me take your money and off we go.
This is the Multifamily Journey Podcast, show 22.
You're listening to the Multifamily Journey Podcast. In this show, you'll hear industry experts share tips of success and failure from their real estate investing journeys. You'll get a transparent look behind the curtain while you learn to fulfill the lifestyle you want to live and achieve your wealth goals. Get ready for the journey to financial freedom through investing in multifamily real estate. Here's your host, Blake Dailey.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Multifamily Journey Podcast. I'm your host, Blake Dailey, and excited to be back with another good show today. Just got done recording with Chris Levarek. Actually had to go change shirts, got into another flannel. I was wearing a flannel before this if you're not watching on YouTube. So it is flannel season in Florida, just cool enough, but also warm enough. It acts like a little jacket shirt this time of year. But yeah, I had Alfredo just blow up all over me, got in my hair, all over my shirt. So change flannels, not letting it stop me and getting back into it. So today was a really good interview with Chris. He breaks down how systems has really allowed his company, the Valkere Investment Group that he does with him and his brother and their wives, has allowed that company to really see impressive growth. I think they've got like 200 units now, and now we're chasing a 300 and some units. So really cool stuff from them. And systems is a big part of that. So Chris breaks it down, how they use systems and how they've evolved over time. It started out with checklists. And I think for the new investor, that's the important thing to take away, is it doesn't have to be all this complicated software and stuff that, keeps you from just taking action now. So just make your checklist, make sure you don't miss anything. And then systems evolve as you do and as you grow. So this is a really good episode, and a little bit about Chris. He's a former Air Force firefighter. So another hands-on career like him and his brother, who's Special Forces. So these two guys are really awesome. And Chris is, since the Air Force, has been in the technology industry, has done residential investing, and now obviously full-time real estate syndicator, and just really good guy. So this is a good episode. I think it's applicable to everybody wherever you are on your journey, and I hope you guys get something from it. And before we get into the show, I just wanted to share a little bit about my journey, where I'm at, do a little touch in, and maybe it helps and to show where I'm at. But waiting for the bids back from the contractors. So all of them, the rehab bids, the furnishing bids, all that, compiling my data today. I'm going to try to make the go or no go by the end of the weekend, and then move forward with that. Or, if the budget doesn't work, then have to kill the deal, which I hope it doesn't. I really like this deal. I like the location. It's going to be a big lift for sure, full rehab. But looking to compile all the numbers and rerun my analysis on that, make sure I can make it work and not sink the investment. The 66 unit, also all the subscription documents went out today. So that's looking like it's going to close at the beginning of February. Really excited for that, when that first syndication to close. And yeah, a lot of things are moving. It's a good time of the year, staying cool, wearing flannels. And with that, let's get into the show. All right, Chris, welcome to the show, man. Glad to have you here.
Hey, thanks, Blake. Good to be here. Appreciate it.
Awesome, man. This is going to be a good show, very applicable to myself, and I'm sure to many of others who need some help in the system realm. So before we get into all of that, why don't you give people a little bit of how you got started on your journey?
Sure. Yeah. So if you haven't heard my journey or heard of me yet, my name is Chris Levarek. I'm with Valkere Investment Group. Really, I got started in real estate about 2 years ago. I was in the Air Force. I got out of the Air Force. I became an IT engineer. And after about 9 years of doing IT, I decided that the 401k wasn't exactly my best retirement plan. So I got into real estate, and I really just started by purchasing a duplex in North Carolina, 2 actually. And from there, I scaled up. I partnered with a lot of investors, and we started doing bigger deals until we were doing apartments, and now we're doing apartment syndication. And we built a business around it, and it's been a fun ride. So
I love it, man. Yeah. So Chris is Ashton's brother. They are the brothers Levarek, and Ashton was on the show a few weeks ago. And I always ask people like, hey, do you have anybody else I should, have on the show? And he's like, you got to get my brother on, like what you've been saying in the mastermind group. Like, Chris is the man with systems and processes. And so, yeah, that's why I want to have Chris on. So this will be this awesome show. But what you're saying there, like just in the intro, I think it's curious. Like you went through that natural progression of like, hey, I don't think this 401k or whatever it is, this traditional retirement route is right for me. Like, I don't want to work my life away to have, retirement at 59 or 65, whatever it is. So you guys are living it up now and making the push and creating a lot of income. So I love that. So when you guys got into it, made that decision, like what made you want to get in? Cause I think you started in smaller multifamily, right? And then scaled up. So like, what was the idea behind that kind of progression for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of a natural order of things. We knew the power of partnership early. It took a little bit for us to kind of like really settle on it. But even the first couple duplexes we bought, we were focusing on partners. And so we worked with a private lender in that case. And it kind of just started snowballing, started progressing that manner. Once you partner once, the next one's not so difficult to do. And then you realize you can actually even go bigger on the next one because you're really only limited by the partners you're bringing in and the roles that they're going to play. And that makes it all the more easier. So it was a natural scaling of things. We didn't, sometimes people just start with a single family and they rent a home they purchased as a primary residence. So they don't have that kind of end goal in mind, I guess, to be partnered and to go in these bigger deals. It was almost there was a little inkling when we started it. And because we really explored that, it became stronger and easier to do in the next deals. And so that's kind of how the progression went.
Yeah, I think I found that true in my own life too, right? It seems like the first is always the hardest. And like before you do your first deal, like the thought of doing that first deal is like, oh God, I got to get a mortgage for how much? Like the house cost how much? Like I don't have $200,000 to buy a house. And then you find out you can leverage it and get the down payment from other sources. And I love that because it gets easier with repetition. You guys build it up. So just took a smart path, I think. So that's really cool. I think for listeners, that's important. Like you guys didn't jump into, 336 units or whatever it is. Like you guys started with duplexes and build up. So I think that's really important. Yeah.
Yeah. It's, I was just going to say, like some people say you can go 0 to 300. My personality, I like to really kind of learn it and, go a little slower. And that's the great thing about partners. So my brother is more the go fast guy. So you can have a nice balance if you get a good partnership on both sides like that.
Yeah. I think that's a good point. Like you can go from 0 to 300 or, 0 to 100 or whatever, but I think it's going to take you a lot longer. And then you miss out on a lot of the lessons and just experience from, starting with that duplex and doing everything yourself. If you jump in a 100 unit, you're going to have, likely, unless you just have like $5 million sitting in your bank account, you're going to have partners, you're going to have one role. But if you build up organically, you get a comprehensive understanding of like all the things that go into the deal. So I like that. And I think on social media all the time, it's like, hey, buy your first apartment complex, like quit your job tomorrow. So I think it's important to know that like it takes work. It takes work to get there, but very, very doable and repeatable. So when you guys got in together, like Ashland was telling it, is like you guys just had, you always thought you had, like you guys were the same, you had the same skill sets, you couldn't work together, but then you found out that you guys had very complementary skill sets. What'd that look like for you guys in identifying that and being able to work really effectively together to be able to build and grow like you have?
Definitely. I mean, to be honest, it's a process. You're not going to figure it all out at once. You can jumpstart it by taking these like personality tests and seeing where you fit it exactly in some kind of team. Are you more the aggressive type? Are you more the reserve, conservative type? So that can help. But really just exploring, communicating with your team, talking who is comfortable in what roles, and just experience going at it and working together. That kind of will really help you define what you like doing, what you don't like doing, because you don't really know until you start. You might think you like doing underwriting, or you might think you like walking a property, but then you go do it and you're like, I'm really not good at this, or I really don't enjoy this. So I think the experience part, taking a personality test can help. We didn't start that way. I mean, I thought I was a lot like my brother. kind of always trying to follow in the big brother's footsteps. And then he thought I was a lot like him. I mean, I was a firefighter in the Air Force. He was special forces. We were kind of like doing these physical jobs at some point. And then we realized as we got into business together that we actually enjoyed different things in business. So we didn't know that till we started and got into a project together. So sometimes just taking the action, getting in there, taking that test beforehand, kind of finding out what you're doing, but really getting in and getting experience will really hone what you like doing.
Yeah, that's really good. So have you guys done the like behavior test now?
Yeah, we've done the DISC profile. We use,
Okay. I think this is the first time like we've talked about this on the show. Can you explain what that is and like what that was able to do for you guys?
Sure. Yeah. So, we use the free version. It used to be a Tony Robbins version on his site. So you can just get it like really snippet of what it does. So it gives you like a high level of what you are. If you buy the program, you get a little deeper into the whole personality test. But basically, it's DISC, DISC. And so when you answer these questions, it's just going to basically score you in those 4 categories. And so, I'm not super. So it's DISC is let's see, I forget what the D stands for, but it's like you're the aggressive type. You're determined. You're a deliverer or whatever. You like go after things. Before the plan's made, you just take off running. I is more an influencer. You're good with people, relationships. You connect. You really enjoy talking to people and the emotional kind of journey, I guess. S is steadiness and C is consciousness. And the last 2 are more kind of like you're conservative or you're introvert, or maybe you're more analysis guy. You do a lot of the planning, the systems. Maybe you're in the C, you're more conservative. You take your time. You really understand the whole process. And so there's 4 types of categories. When you score, you might be high in like S and C. And so you're probably going to be better at the plans, the systems, fully understanding the solution. Maybe you're good at numbers. Maybe you're good at underwriting. If you're high in the D and I, maybe you're good at sales. Maybe you're better at podcasts, at talking to people. But if you don't have kind of like a balance among that category, you'll see that high Ds will have a hard time doing all the tasks, doing all the little detail work. And they'll miss a lot. There'll be mistakes along the way.
I'm pointing at myself here. If you're not watching the video, that sounds like me.
That's why you need someone who's good at detail work to come either put in the plan beforehand or come pick up some of the detail work along the way. And it's the same the other way. A person who's really big in analysis or detail work, sometimes they're missing the big picture, and those high Ds or high DIs can be kind of more big picture oriented. So, yeah.
And yeah, that's really good stuff, man. And I just last night, one of my masterminds was, we were doing a deep dive with one of the guys in there, and he worked like his goals backwards. Like he had the vision of where he wanted to be, passive income, kind of had the strategy, multifamily, either organically or syndication. And then he was working backwards, like, hey, here's my skills. And what he did was called like really good friends, people he was close with, and said, hey, like, what do you think I'm really good at? Where do you think my skill sets lie? So that he could kind of get like an unbiased out of his own head kind of thing and like see, where he's really excelled. And I didn't even think about this when we were talking about it, but that'd be so good. Like do your personality assessment and then find out kind of where you lie in that range. And then by having that information about yourself, you can figure out how to go, provide value in a team, and really grow. Because if you're all D and I and have no S and C, it's going to be really hard to be successful because you drop the ball on some things. And if you can, only analyze and think and plan, it's going to really be hard to get stuff done and meet milestones. So like having both aspects are really important. So that's really good. Yeah. We haven't dug into that on the show yet. So that was a good overview of that. So, and I think in there, you sound kind of more like the S&C person. You're focused on the systems and the business. So, I mean, I think some people just think that like, I don't need systems. I just need to buy a property. It's not that complicated, but I mean, you as a more systems guy, why do you think that the systems are so important?
Yeah. And to be honest, buying a property is not that complicated. But what systems guys do eventually is they kind of make it really complicated. And you hear that analysis paralysis bit, where people just will take, I met someone the other day, they've spent 4 years on Bigger Pockets, have never bought anything, and they want to. It's not like they don't want to. So for me, though, the thing is, if you don't create systems and processes, and you're trying to do something repeatable, or say you're trying to build a business and you want that business to scale on a repeated product or repeated service, you need to create a system around it, because otherwise you're kind of just shooting in the dark. You're like, okay, well, I made all these mistakes the first time I bought a property, and I'm just going to go make all those mistakes again. Because if you're not documenting it, and if you're not creating a system around the things that didn't work, or how you do it, a checklist even, I see people who buy real estate who do really well are engineers, pilots, and much of the reason is because they have checklists. They before you start that plane, you go down your list of checklists and you make sure that that thing's going to take off. It's got fuel. It's got all the things you need to do. And so you see, pilots do really well in real estate. But it's that part of it. It's making sure that you create some kind of flow, some kind of system, some kind of process that you can execute repeatedly, and your success will be much greater. Not only if you're building the business, but even if you're just buying repeated single family homes, you have that thing down to a system. You'll avoid all those mistakes you probably made the first time.
But I think that's really good what you're saying there. And I learned that the hard way, because I didn't, early on with the first couple of properties I bought, didn't write things down. Didn't make like a checklist of what I needed to get to the lender. And it was, a lot more back and forth emails, a lot more time spent, a lot more stress. And as I started to do that, build the systems, have a folder on my email. Every time I need a commercial loan, I have everything. I drag and drop into an email, boom, send it. And I could even get that more systematized, where I have a VA do all that. But there's levels to it for sure. And what I've used a few times is Asana, like it's a project management tool, and just write out all the steps, mark them as complete, and you move along like the workflows in there. And that's been really helpful. That's just Asana, like ASANA, pretty helpful. What are some things that you've used to what's an example of like a system that you use in your business to help streamline things?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot that we built, and they don't happen overnight. But once you find a problem, or once you find a flow that you want to improve, that's where you can implement that system. So I guess one we're working on right now, which I'll just touch on, you said Asana. We use Monday.com for project management. It's very similar. But briefly, I'll mention that. But what I'm working on right now is Active Campaign. I'm not sure if you've used that or heard of it.
Yeah. That was one of my recent hires. I got to do Active Campaign, because I spent way too much time in it, and I was just running in circles. But awesome software. Awesome.
Yeah. So for us, we do apartment syndication, and it's almost like you're a marketing company with, surrounding an investment firm. So really, we need to make relationships is a big part of it. And Active Campaign,
in front of people.
Yeah, Active Campaign really helps that. So if you're making connections all the time, you want to be in front of those people. You want to connect with them. You want them to see your presence, as often as you can, so that they feel comfortable around you. They know your values. They know your investment structure. But that's really hard if you have, say, 1,000 people you're trying to communicate with all the time. For you to get on the computer and write an email every month to those one person every month, that's kind of tough. So Active Campaign is similar to MailChimp, where you can do newsletters, you can do monthly communication, weekly communication, but it even goes deeper than that. You can create these automations, another word for systems. So when someone reaches out in a certain fashion to you, they get a certain type of communication. Maybe they get a drip campaign to their email. So that just means a steady email every 1 to 2 days or something like that, with different information for them to, further understand what you do and kind of like
basically just educating them, like putting them on a path of educating, bringing them in your world. And
yeah. So I like to use Zapier too. It's an automation tool that just ties applications together. And so right now, we have a system where if someone contacts us, via the website, we get a Slack notification because they've submitted a form. It shoots Slack, which is kind of like Skype. It's a channel, IM channel thing. It lets us know right away. So we don't have to go in our email and go, oh, somebody signed up. I know somebody signed up. I'm cognizant now they're in this flow of information. And now that person, after that Slack notification, they'll get added to a list of like a newsletter list. So they'll get a newsletter once a month, and then they'll get an email right away. It says, hey, thanks for signing up, or thanks for reaching out. That's just a simple process. But what it does is it really, it's kind of interacting with the person. It's letting us know we have people signing up. So maybe I get a little, thumbs up in my life for that day because I know someone's interested in what we're doing. So it all creates this kind of momentum, and it keeps it flowing without me having to go do all that. So
yeah, that sounds like a big web of interconnected systems all sticking together. Yeah. And that's good. I think like for the beginning investor, you don't need all that, right? I think like the checklists are important, and that like big overview, what you just said, is super important to like visualize of where it goes as you begin to grow. And if that's the kind of growth you want to see, right? You're talking about building an outlet mall, and some people just need to build like a sandcastle, right? Oh yeah. Some people, I think I want you to hear all that and like understand like the tools that are available for you for the listeners, but realize that you don't need to like get caught up in it, right? Just start small, just like Chris did, and it builds over time. Like you identify needs and put systems around those so that you're not getting caught up in like maintaining all this stuff, and you can continue your growth. So that's been kind of where I'm at in my journey right now, is at this spot where like I was kind of doing everything, and I was really frustrated, didn't have that much time, kind of had stress with my wife, and it is because I was just doing every little thing. And then we got property management, and then we got, I started using Active Campaign too. Just hired a VA. Like this has been like my progression. It seems like you've been all through this and done a lot more. But I just want those people to hear that and not get like inundated with the information. Like the systems are there to help you grow. Like you don't need them all at once. If you're, building your sandcastle, like build that sandcastle, build the best sandcastle you can build, and then like go on to, I don't know, gingerbread house. I
totally agree. I totally agree. And you know what? For all the listeners that are just starting out too, you don't have to go recreate the wheel. There, when I first started, I went on Bigger Pockets and I found a checklist for buying a property. There's people who have put this stuff up free, for you to go find and reuse. You don't have to recreate it. And the checklist in buying a property, some of them will be really detailed. But in the basis, if we look at it, it's like a 5-step process, analysis. Okay, I'm looking at the properties that I want to buy, acquisitions and due diligence. Okay, I'm evaluating those properties. I'm putting offers in and I'm doing my due diligence. And then I'm closing, and then I'm just managing. I'm making a property manager manage. It's a 5-step deal. So that in itself could just be your simple checklist, and you just add pieces to it as you learn, So if you missed the inspection for some reason, make sure you add a checklist for inspection next time.
Yep. Yeah. And it's literally nothing new. I love how you said that and made that point, because this is not like creating some new software to like buy properties for you. There's a proven process. I mean, people have documented on YouTube, on Bigger Pockets, like it's out there. You just have to repeat what's been done already. And I don't think I've done anything novel in the properties I've built. I've just modeled what others have done and tried to do it the best I can. And even with like Burr and B's, that's something I didn't know that other people were doing, but I didn't create Burr and B. I just started like fixing up properties and renting them on Airbnb, and had 2 units there. So I created 3 listings to where they all talk to each other, but it's all stuff people have done. I just like picked little pieces and put it together. So like all the information is out there. And I know you guys have like the ebook for like creating partnerships, like the checklist for that. On my website, I have like just a basic getting started checklist, like find your market. Here's what you want to look for in a market. Here's what you do when underwriting properties at like a base level, so you can kind of get into this stuff and think checklist oriented. Because if you miss that inspection, if you miss one of those items, you could, sink a bunch of money into a property. So it's important that like you kind of build this like checklist in your head and can move forward with it.
Yep.
Or use, a tool like Asana or whatever. So for you guys, like when you first started, how did you identify what needed systematized first? Because I think that's where a lot of people are. So like to back it up, what was the first step for you guys?
There is no better asset class for building wealth than real estate. And in most instances, people don't have the time or energy to invest in it on their own. So how do you build wealth with real estate when you lack the time and energy? Leave that to the GrowthView Properties. The GrowthView team finds, negotiates, and manages multifamily assets for private investors. Their mission is to help investors secure the ultimate asset, which is time, all the while impacting the greater good with their endowment fund that fuels the mission of charitable organizations. Find out more by going to thegrowthview.com. That's view with a VUE.com. Put your money to work so you don't have to at thegrowthview.com.
Yeah, I think we started with a simple checklist like that because, we surround ourselves with experts and like a property manager and a real estate agent, and they have kind of their own process. But for me, I wanted to see it all play out and make sure we didn't miss all the steps. I'm really big on not missing all the steps, not getting it wrong. And it helps having a partner who does it that's not as big for. And that was my brother. He just wanted to go get something. And so like I probably said, the partnerships are really going to help those people who are stuck in the detail work. And then for the visionary people, having someone who's really good at detail, it's going to balance out. And I'll probably keep coming back to that. But yeah, the simple checklist of buying a property was kind of where I started. And then I realized, just like you did, there's certain things that mistakes are made or, work it's taken too much of your time. And a lot of us get into real estate to get back time, to have more time with our kids, have more time to do our hobbies and that kind of thing. We already have a W-2 job, or we already have some kind of passion that we're excited about. And we don't really, maybe real estate's a side hustle. So once you start to see what you like and don't like, then you'll create a system to help support you not doing the things you don't like to do. And so that could be getting an assistant, and that's a system in itself. You're training that person, you're teaching them how to do something. You have to create a system or checklist for them to follow. Typically, if you don't, they'll kind of do whatever.
And I think doing that too, helps you because it makes you think through and write down your whole process. Like as if you're teaching it to a second grader. And it helps you thinking through that process to give it to somebody else too.
Yeah. A big one I used in the beginning, and I'll give this a little tidbit. I'm big on applications, but Loom is a really cool tool. Yep. So all you do is record your screen. Basically, it's for I think it's free for a little bit.
I think it's free up to 5. Maybe you have a certain amount of videos, or I know I just used it and I had 5-minute videos that I could do for free. So I was doing my tasks, making them cut off at 5 minutes and starting the next one for my video.
Yeah. And then it's even, I think it's not too expensive anyway. We bought a copy of it a couple bucks a month or something. But it basically records your computer screen while you're doing something, and you can speak into it. So that way it records that blurb of a video, and then you send that as a link to someone. And so if you have an assistant, you can create a system. You don't have to, you're not a really good checklist person or writing it all down. Maybe you just record yourself doing that task, which is now a system, label it, buying a property system, and send it to someone who you want to do that system. I mean, it could be as simple as that. So we were doing that in the beginning for a couple different tasks.
Yeah. Yeah. That seems easy enough, right? Free software, you can use it. I mean, that could be for a partner. It doesn't have to be for a VA. If you guys are working together and you guys need to share responsibilities, maybe they need to take something off your plate so you can focus over here and both grow together. Use Loom. Hey man, here's what I'm doing. Here's how I'm finding properties off the MLS. Here's how I'm screening. Just record your screen. I think Loom puts a little circle down at the bottom of your face, but it has the whole screen there. So it's pretty interactive, pretty good stuff there. So yeah, that's a good one. So for you guys, starting out, it was those base level things, it sounds like, then just the closing kind of checklist and being able to get properties with less headache.
Yeah, that was a big part of it. We started with the Airtable. So the Airtable's free for anybody who wants to use it. Basically, it's like Excel, but you can make it way more visual and move blocks around and move lines around a lot easier, and kind of do all these filters where you see what you want to see, and it makes it almost look like Asana. So it's very customizable, but it's free. And what I liked was it's like Excel where you can make an easy checklist. And that's how we did it. We made groups, kind of like I said, in those 5 areas. And it was all about buying duplexes. How do we burr a duplex? That was our first kind of process. So then we made these 5 areas. We're going to analyze it in these markets. We're going to do the acquisition, submit the offer, do our due diligence, and then we're going to close. and then we're going to manage it. And
That's
so
your
what are
5
the
steps,
things?
right? That's the 5 steps right there. That's
It's
simple.
easy.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. So if you just we put items in there, and that way, when we miss the step, like, you'll make mistakes, right? So then you take what you made and you put it, maybe you bold it in the checklist or something like that. But that's exactly where we started in our systems area. And then we started creating systems about, what we did per week, what tasks we're doing per week, what, we make goals, and then we'd make, how are we going to hit those goals? And we make a maybe checklist for that quarter of what we're going to do to hit those goals. But in the beginning, it was really just how we burr property and what's needed to get that done. Because a lot of times you don't know, okay, well, I got to send the lender this. I got to send the real estate agent this at this time. I got 15 days to closing. What do I need to do before then? So all those little steps were where we started. Yeah. I mean, we weren't doing a business in the beginning. It was just
buying properties. Yeah. And that's a good another distinction to make. Like what you and I are doing now is trying to build a business with recurring revenue, buying a bunch of properties. But for me, just starting out, and it's probably the same for you. Like, I was just looking for properties, trying to close one, trying to get passive income, and then trying to just repeat that process. So that's why that simple checklist is really good. And you can become a millionaire relatively quickly just doing that, just analyzing properties, offering on the ones that look good enough that meet your numbers, and closing those deals. That does not have to be complicated. That's the easy part. I think what holds people up is that mental hurdle of I gotta, buy a $200,000 house, or, maybe in their area it's a $500,000 house or whatever. But just getting over that mental hurdle to do those simple things. And all this can be found, all those systems can be found on, like we were saying, on Bigger Pockets. But I liked what you were saying in there of you guys, had those 5 steps, as you went and grew, you made tweaks and adjustments to those, redesigned the process, changed those steps, and then re-implemented it and just refined it as it went along. And it reminded me back of playing football. I played Division I football at the Air Force Academy, and that whole structure was a high level competition. Everything was very structured and systematized. So you had practice. The next day you had, weight room, and then you watched film of your practice. So every day you'd watch yourself from the previous day and then watch game tape. So you're seeing what you did wrong. The coach is making adjustments, tweaking that system, if you will. And then you go out and implement it. And then by game time, buying your property, you're ready to go. So all week you're making small adjustments, getting better and better and better, till on game day, the closing date, you're ready to go and make this thing happen. So I don't know why I didn't make that connection sooner, because if you're trying to do anything you got to tweak it as you go and continue to get better and better at it.
Yeah. The big part, the military is big for this too. And they have one of the most efficient structures, I guess, on getting people trained and doing things the way they need them to do to function as a piece of the system, a piece of the wheel, a cog in the wheel, if you will, So if you take some of the things they do, and we did one key element, I think one good system to have after all this is just a debrief. After you do whatever you're trying to do for that quarter with a property or whatever, what worked, what didn't work, what can we do better, that kind of thing, it'll play dividends. And then you'll really know what you need to add to your checklist. Because if you just kind of add things willy-nilly,
then you know what to change.
Yeah. It's good to do a debrief. So.
Yeah. What I do for those is I write a blog post and put it up on multifamilyjourney.com of every deal I've done. So each deal I've done, I've went in, wrote about it, my takeaways and all my lessons learned. And hopefully, I haven't went back and looked at all of them at once, but hopefully the lessons learned on each deal are different, right? Getting up and to the right. And it's not the same lessons I did this again. But I do that because it's it makes me think through my process. What was I thinking at the time? Why did I make that decision? And then I write my takeaways and say, okay, this is what I'm gonna do for the next one. And I don't know, in there, I think the deals get better and better. So I don't know. That's just me, but that's one way to do it. If you got a partner, talk about your partner. All right, what did we do on this one? Or, your spouse, if it's just you and them, or if you're a single guy or gal, I don't know, talk to the mirror. Debrief with yourself, write it out. That's good.
Journal it.
I think it's, journal is a really good one. And I like what you're saying about like the military being really, really structured. We were talking in our mastermind group about like how military members can succeed really well inside the structure and the systems that the military puts in place. But then you get outside of those systems and they start their own businesses. They kind of like fall in on themselves and don't know how to set up the systems because everything is already there for them in the military. So I think that just highlights like what strong systems and a strong structure to, you know, your whatever your goals are, like whether it's buy properties or buying mobile home parks, whatever it is, like making a syndication business, setting the structure is super important.
Yeah, I'm always amazed because my brother's so disciplined and, you know, he's done all this special forces work and just the amount of training and discipline and structure it takes to, you know, maybe go find a target in the, you know, Afghanistan hills, and you're doing all these, everything has to be done perfectly, right? And then sometimes they'll come into our business and I'm like, where's all the detail? Where's all the structure? But it's just funny.
Yeah.
And you're totally right. I mean, a lot of the guys come from military have been used to that, those well-oiled processes that have been built for years and years. So you got to rebuild them in your own business.
Yeah. That's really good. I mean, as a good transition point, like, what do you think would be like for somebody that's not used to using systems, that's just been brute forcing it? What do you think? Like, what tips do you have for them to get started with kind of systematizing their business or their investing?
Yeah. And I'll probably take a page from my brother in this. It starts with your clarity, right? It starts with, you know, what you want to get good at, what your vision is of where you want to go. And I think the reason why I say that is because if you just start making systems around what you're, I guess, really good at, then that's not going to have the highest impact. You know, you're already good at it. You're doing it well. Maybe you should make a system around what you're not doing well, because the system's going to help you improve upon those areas or fill that void. And so I think that's a good place to start, is understanding where you want to go, what you're good at. You know, I really love the book Free to Focus. I can't remember who wrote it now. It's early in the morning.
Yeah, but I don't know it either.
Great book. Michael Hyatt. Great book because it talks about doing tasks that you're passionate about and you're good at. And I think building systems around ones you dislike and you're bad at is a good place, because then you won't make those mistakes around those areas. And a system.
And then you can focus on what you're good at, which is more fun.
And you know, when we're good at something, typically we're going to do a better job at it. When we like it, we're going to do a better job at it. We're putting a lot more intention and emotion into it. So that's where I think you need to start with systems, is those areas you're having problems or you dislike doing, or you know, and that first step when you get into it, where you're like, oh, I need to make a system around this. I really don't want to do this. Well, you're going to grind through that for a couple hours or a day or whatever to build that system, but that system's going to save you so much time in the future. So if you're just getting started, you know, I would say you start with the basics. So first decide, you know, what you want to get good at. What's your goal? What's your end goal? Once you got that, you're going to commit to some type of action, but let's just say it's building that system. So you're just starting. Let's start at the basics. Where am I investing? I want to pick a market. Okay. Let me come up with maybe a 10-step process or a 5-step process to find a market, right? That is a system. So maybe your process for finding a market is, okay, I'm going to go on, you know, RealPage or Zillow or IRR or Redfin, see which markets people which markets are in expansion. That's step one. I'm looking for markets that are growing. Step two might be, okay, well, I want to see rent growth as well. Which markets are in rent growth as well? Okay, it's these ones. Okay, well, which markets can I invest in because it matches my price point? You know, if am I going to go to San Francisco and try to put money down? Maybe no. Maybe that's 3-step. Okay, third step, I find proper markets that have that I can afford, and then step 4 or 5, maybe you're just calling people in those areas and really exploring them. But that is a system in itself, and that for a new investor to find a market, that might be much better for you than, say, if you're a visionary and you just go boom, spot on the map. You know, like, I don't know if that's what you're good at. I don't know if you know that's your weak point or whatever, but that would be building a system for finding a market, and that might be good for someone who's not good at deciding.
That's so good. I think everybody should go listen back to that. Because that's how simple it is. And that's how it starts. It's just writing out what you need to do and following that. That's as simple as a system. It doesn't need to be active campaign and all that stuff. So yeah, thanks for sharing all that. That's actually kind of what I've been starting to do, is just tracking like how many deals come in, how many I'm analyzing, how many, blogs I'm putting out, how many social media posts, as a way to get in front of more people, make genuine relationships and stuff like that. So that's all really good stuff.
Yeah. And I'll throw a real quick tidbit because we're here, but if, I don't know when this is coming out, but U-Haul just released migration trends for 2020. And so if you are looking for a market, that's a great place to start. It shows where people are moving. I love that report. So
U-Haul migration. I'm making a note of that.
It's a fun one to see. I mean, they track where people are.
I would assume like people are coming like out of like the Northeast and like down into the Southeast and from California to like Idaho, Utah, places like that.
Yeah. Yep. I think, Arizona's up in there. Florida's up in there. I think Florida has like in the top 10 cities, they're like number 3, of the cities are all Florida cities.
I love it, baby. People love the sunshine. If nobody knows, this is the secret that Florida's holding, is that sunshine kills the coronavirus. So people are just running amok. They're coming to Florida. Labor Day, Memorial Day was like COVID didn't even exist. The beaches were full, and Florida's
I like it.
Florida's awesome. Yeah,
I'm in Arizona, so I like the sun too.
Yeah, like bring it on down. We'll take all the appreciation from everybody else coming in.
Yeah, there you go.
I like it, man. So that's good stuff. So before we transition to the last segment of the show here, like, what do you think is the future for Valkere Capital going forward? Like, what kind of systems are you guys putting in place now and envision to continue the growth?
Awesome question. Right now, another great book we're doing is My Story Brand by Donald Miller. Love that book.
Alpha Ashton's recommendation. It's up on the shelf right there. It's after 4-hour work week, which is 4-hour work week is like put the systems in place, like to get yourself out. Freaking mind blowing. I can't believe I didn't read it sooner, but it's been like perfect timing.
Yeah, it's a good one. So a lot of what we're focusing on right now is really narrowing down what our company does, really niching down what our company does. And so it's a lot built on that book where you're developing your brand, you're really owning it. Who's our audience? What's our avatar? What are we trying to do here? What are we trying to accomplish? And that's really where we're trying to take Valkere Investment Group. We're trying to become a key partner in apartment syndication for a lot of different people. And so, the right people, the people that align with our values, but really want to be the best in market at that kind of, investor relations experience, really much deeper than just, okay, we underwrote a property, performs at this, and then let me take your money and off we go. We're trying to make it more of an experience, more of, we are trying to get the updates, trying to get good at that whole communication, the relationship, building, the marketing of our brand, how many people we're helping. And it's not just to raise money. I mean, we do a wealth and whiskey mastermind meetup group once a month, end of the month. It's on our site, but, a little plug there. But we, the big part of it is we give away a lot for free. And I think that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to build this brand that not only helps people, but makes it a really fun experience, along the way. And that's kind of what we're trying to do. So.
Love it, man. I think that's what's going to keep people coming back and investing, instead of 50,000 on one deal, they invest, 50,000 in multiple deals as time goes on, because they resonate with you guys. They feel like they're getting value. And I'm behind you guys, but trying to do the same thing, like just trying to create like a community, because that stuff stands out a lot, I think, from the people who are just clearly out there being pitchy or salesy, and it's transactional to them. So I think if you can actually make a relationship with people, like it sounds like you're doing with all your investors, and I try to with mine, then that makes a big difference, especially with those you're able to like bring in and they're just gonna, turn into repeat customers, if you want to call them that, or, you're helping them get rich. So
it's funner too. I mean, it's a lot more fun doing it that way. I think if you're coming at this with like, oh, I need to raise $2 million and I don't care how I do it, I got to go after it and, go get it. But if you're more like, well, I'm going to go build some relationships and see what happens. I mean, who wouldn't? It just sounds much nicer to me. It sounds much smoother.
I think so too. Like I want to bring on the investors that I would like want to like, I don't know, have a drink with or something, like have a meal with. And it's not just like, hey, do you have money? Please come on. Like I haven't brought in any investors like that. They've all been like relationships so far. And because of that, I can just communicate much easier. And like you're saying, I think the brand is fostered that way, like your personal brand. And I think it helps everybody. They feel more taken care of. And then you guys can just kind of enjoy your relationship, and everybody makes money.
Yeah. And it's the same for partnerships for new investors. I mean, we talk a little about raising money there, but I think it's the same. Like if you just align with people to achieve a goal versus aligning people because you align with them, like you have the same values, there's a big difference there. And trust me, when you just try to fill a void because you're trying to fill that void and get a goal done, chances are that partnership's not going to work very well. So, focus on your character, personality, values when you're making these connections.
On that, like random question, but I feel like most of the syndicators in the space, like they target and market towards like aspiring active investors. And I feel like those aren't really the true clients. I mean, maybe they turn into passive investors because they want to like get their feet wet or whatever. But I don't see a lot of people like truly marketing to passive investors. Like where do you see you got like Valkere in that space? Are you guys like providing educational material, like going after like it's a chase, or I don't know. I want to come up with a better term for that, but
target audience.
Yeah. Your target audience, like is it truly passive investors? Or are you guys like trying to bring in more active investors? Like what's that look like for you guys?
Yeah, a lot of it came down. We just did this whole analysis, and you'll see if you look at the blog posts. I write a blog once a week. You'll see the blog posts were really scattered for the last year, or from the start. And now they're getting more focused on delivering a message to someone. And that message really, we're trying to focus toward the person who's earning as a W-2 earner, and they don't know about this kind of stuff. Maybe they are active, but that's not really, I guess, our target audience. We're more focused on someone who's realizing that they want more time back. The 401k is not going to get them where they would need to be by age 67 or 50 or 55 or whenever they want to retire. So it's people like us, because we have families, we lack time, we want to retire early. And that's who we're looking for. Someone who's working, someone who doesn't know about real estate as much, and somebody who wants more time, more freedom. So
I love that. People like us. The avatar is people like us, and not us specifically.
So much
like
easier.
W-2 earners, it makes it a lot easier. Fostering that community, I love it. That's really good. That's something I ask myself sometimes. Like, try to redefine like who actually listens to this podcast. Who actually reads the blog post. Who am I helping? Like, who am I speaking to? And I think I've come up with that same answer too. Like, it's people like you and me who are working. They don't want to work the next 40 years to retire later. Like, I'd much rather take Tim Ferriss's path and retire in my 20s, at some point and
but you're on your way,
travel,
right?
And hopefully, and knock on wood, spend time with family. I think my wife wants 12 kids or something like that, maybe 15. I don't know. So big focus on the family here in the coming years. That's good stuff. Yeah, man. With that, let's transition to the last section of the show. It's the Fortune 5. These are the 5 questions I ask every guest every week. So,
Fortune 5.
With that first question, what's the biggest thing that has contributed to your success?
I'd say partnership. Again, I'll beat it up. And I wasn't big on it in the beginning, but we have 10x our growth because of partners, both investors, general partners, project management, everyone we've worked with. It's been partnership.
Partner up, level up. I like it. Mm-hmm. What's been your biggest mistake so far that's turned into a learning lesson?
Missing item on a checklist.
I love it. The systems guy brings it full circle.
Yeah. So we missed out on some closing costs, and a seller took us for it. So that kind of sucked.
Yep. Yeah. My checklist item that I missed was a due diligence due date, and lost my earnest money deposit. It is one of those quick turnarounds on a residential deal, like early last year. But the inspection came back. It was awful. Like double, like if I got this thing at half the cost, it probably still wouldn't have worked. But didn't check my checklist or set the checklist in the first place. So that one came to burn me. So I feel you there.
Ouch.
Yeah. Chris, what's your favorite book you'd recommend to someone starting out?
I think the book on rental property investing by Brandon Turner is an awesome one. If you're just starting out, that book really helped me understand the whole process and get involved in it. I know a lot of people aren't trying to build a business right away. So that's where I'd say that was a great book for me. I won't recommend Rich Dad Poor Dad. I actually didn't enjoy it, which is kind of, I think it's mindset. So if your mindset's not there.
Yeah, you were like, where's the checklist in this thing?
Exactly.
Where's the action?
I like Brandon Turner's book. It's a great kind of how
he does a really good job at like breaking stuff down in a simple fashion and like making it actionable. That was one of the first books I read too. And that's usually my answer to this question.
Oh, cool.
So I resonate with that. I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, just randomly picked it up in Barnes and Noble and then went back and I was like, all right, real estate. And then I saw that had like real estate on the cover. And I was like, that's got to be the next book I read.
Yeah.
The rest
That's
is
a great one to start. If you couple that with long distance real estate investing by David Green, like you can do some powerful stuff.
Yeah. I mean, that's something that works like if you're investing in your market. I mean, if you just treated it like you're investing miles or thousands of miles away, then you have to set up the checklist and the processes because you're not there. You have to put the team in place. And that one was really good as well. That's good stuff. Cool, man. So outside of building checklists and cuddling up with a good process, what do you like to do outside of real estate?
Awesome. Yeah, no, I've been, it's really cool. I have a 2-year-old now. So I've grown, we started the business 2 years ago and I had a kid right at the same time. So it was fun.
Oh, perfect timing. Yeah.
Yes. So I really love playing with him. Like, it's just so awesome to watch him growing and you get back into like this child mode where you kind of just start playing with toys again. And, doing things just to be around him and kind of set the positive, positive role model, I guess. So I guess I used to be more into video games and stuff like that. And now I picked up the guitar again and I'm jamming out, 4 days a week just because my kid loves it. And, now it's like bringing that back for me. So a lot of guitar. Yeah. I like hiking. I'll carry him on my backpack. We're in Phoenix. Weather's awesome right now. So
yeah, it's like the best time of the year there.
Yeah, I love it. So we're doing a lot around the kid though. And we're working on our second. So we'll see.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. I don't know. I don't want to know what working on the second entails right now, but we'll leave that for another podcast. But that's awesome, man. What's that quote? When you stop playing, you don't get old because you stop playing. You grow. You get old because you stop playing, not stop playing when you get older. Something like that. But yeah, you're playing and loving it. And man, I'm right there with you. I want to do the same things. But that's good. So last question here, where can people find out more about you and connect with you?
Yeah, we'll make it easy. Go to valkeregroup.com. So VALKERE group.com. You can reach out. You can contact us. You can check out the wealth of information we have on there. Alternatively, you can look up my name. I'm on Bigger Pockets. I post a lot. I'm on LinkedIn, even Facebook. I'm more of a LinkedIn Bigger Pockets guy. So yeah, website's the easiest though.
That's good, man. Yeah, go check out Chris. Connect with him if you got systems, processes, or read his blogs. I gotta go read some now. Implement some of this stuff. But yeah, man, I really appreciate you coming on the show, sharing a lot of this stuff. Super applicable to me right now, and I think a lot of people will get value out of this. I mean, if it's even just drawing like your initial checklist for underwriting deals, I think that'd do a lot of people a lot of good. So thanks for sharing all this, man. And with that, we're out of here.
Hey, thanks for listening. If you like the show, if you found value in it, please go to iTunes and leave a rating and review. And if you want to check out more on your multifamily journey, go to multifamilyjourney.com where you can get free resources to start your journey and figure out your path. That's multifamilyjourney.com. But more importantly, go take action today towards your financial future. See you next time.